Uh, Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Statement on the high cost of food and living and farm inputs in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on an issue of general topic concern and national importance, namely the high cost of food, living, and farm inputs in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, recent surveys indicate that up to 67% of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. And it has also been noted with great concern that the rising cost of food, living, and other basic commodities has led to sharp rise in the cost of living in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to the latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS, food prices rose by 8.89% in January 2022, making it difficult for millions of Kenyans to put the food on the table. For example, a 2 kilogram of packet of maize flour is now retailing at 120 shillings, a rise of 15 shillings from 105 shillings, while a kilo of sugar is retailing at 140 shillings in major supermarkets in the country, rising from 120 shillings a kilo of sugar. 500 millimeters of packet of milk is retailing at between 50 and 60 shillings, depending on the brand in the supermarket or any shops in the country. Further, the cost of refilling a 6 kilogram of liquefied petroleum gas or LPG cylinder has risen to 1,200, up from 950 shillings. Cooking oil, Mr. Speaker, has also doubled in price, retailing at 360 shillings per kilo for most brands, while the cost of loaf of bread, which has risen by a significant margin, up from 60 shillings to 80 shillings Kenya across our shops, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, and of course, for the first time, the price of salt has risen also, Mr. Speaker, so you can imagine it is very expensive, by 5 shillings. And the cost of salt we have been buying at from 10 to 15 shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to farm inputs, a 50-kilo bag of fertilizer, be it DAP, but not the DAP that everybody knows, or CAN, is now retailing at 6,000 Kenya shillings from 2,500, making it almost impossible for farmers to purchase. And you are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the North Rift, in Elgeyo Marakwet, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Trans Nzoia, Bungoma, where you come from, is a planting season and farmers are busy preparing their farms. And now fertilizer has shot up from 2,500 to 6,000, Mr. Speaker, after the subsidy was removed by government. And yet the planting season is fast approaching. The cost of fuel has gone up. The fact of farming or plowing a farm is very expensive per acre. It will be very difficult for our country to be food secure. And you know, Mr. Speaker, when we have food insecurity, the national security is also a threat. If this is the direction we are taking, then it is very dangerous. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I would want to urge our colleagues in the National Assembly to support the proposed amendment by members of Kenya Kwanza to provide additional Kenya shillings 2 billion in 2022-2023 budget, which is required for drought mitigation, and further additional 5 billion for fertilizer subsidy program to bring the fertilizer prices down to about 2,500. And you saw the ANC party leader the other day, Musalia Mudavadi, and Kenya Kwanza indicate that it will be 2,500, God willing, if we form the next government. I also call upon His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to direct, of course, after a busy schedule he has today, to direct the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury to work on modalities that will enable the prices of the basic commodities, cost of living, expensive farm inputs to come down and cushion Kenyans from the high cost of living currently experienced in the country. And it is worth to note, Mr. Speaker, that as we move forward, Kenyans with the effect of COVID pandemic, most Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, lost their jobs, they lost their earnings that they are supposed to earn, Mr. Speaker, and therefore the cost of living continues to keep rising. And therefore, this is my statement. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very important statement from Senator Cherargei that must make all of us put Kenya kwanza. Mr. Speaker, we must put all our other political interests behind and rally around one Kenya and Kenya kwanza, Mr. Speaker, because that is actually what is going to make the whole difference.
Senator Murkomen, you are now again trying to take us where we have come from.
Mr. Speaker, the Senator of Machakos was signaling me with happiness when I said we need a one Kenya. Mr. Speaker, she was very happy because I believe that...
I can see she wants to intervene, Senator.
Yeah, she was very happy when I said one Kenya. So,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to intervene, because I'm not laughing because of what you've said or because I'm happy, but because you're bringing up issues that are not for here now. That one you should wait until Murkomen you go outside there and go and campaign outside there. Here we are not campaigning. We are doing serious business.
Mr. Speaker, I am in serious business when I say we need one Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I mean it, because that is the kind of country we need to show when we're in this chamber. And we must put Kenya ahead, not behind. Mr. Speaker, the thing that I really want to say here is that the cost of living is no longer a joke. Kenyans are angered by the cost of living, and it's a problem that is bedeviling so many Kenyans. Sadly, when I was seeing on Twitter and Facebook, we have all become complainers. We are supposed to be the ones in leadership to provide solution. From the president to the MCA, all of us are complaining. Yeah, you know, you will find a head of state complaining on the runaway corruption and blaming this and that when they have instruments of power to deal with corruption. You will find a member of parliament tweeting, Mr. Speaker, including myself and others, that bring down the cost of living. Yet we were elected to do this job. Mr. Speaker, I like what Senator Sakaja said. We must take practical steps and take the decisions of this House. The statement from Senator Cherargei should go beyond, Mr. Speaker, the committee of this House investigating the matter. It must, Mr. Speaker, as a matter of urgency, sit down with our colleagues in the National Assembly and see how, through finance bill, Mr. Speaker, we can bring down the cost of fuel. Because that's one component we all know. If we reduce the cost of fuel, it will have direct impact on the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, we must also sit down with our colleagues in the National Assembly, look at the budget and inject, Mr. Speaker, resources on the areas of intervention of the economy, Mr. Speaker, especially from the bottom up, Mr. Speaker, to see the people, the common mwananchi, is being cushioned. I hear people talking about cash transfer, Mr. Speaker, but there's a way you can do it even better. Mr. Speaker, before we even give our people cash transfer, which they are receiving now, there is a way, Mr. Speaker, through taxes, we can remove the burden from common mwananchi. If you remove fuel, Mr. Speaker, and you remove other taxes, Mr. Speaker, that are affecting the low cadre of mwananchi who are doing their common businesses, Mr. Speaker, commonly referred to in a colloquial term as hustlers. Mr. Speaker, we will find a proper solution to the problems we are bedeviling this country. If we debate on the floor of this House, even until the cows come home, Mr. Speaker, we will not going to solve the problem if we don't go straight to the National Assembly and deal with this issue through the finance bill and, Mr. Speaker, the budgeting process, so that then we can have this intervention. If we continue like this, Mr. Speaker, if we continue like this to the election day, Kenyans will most likely even just protest to vote for us, literally to just make a statement. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we need to be seen to be closing ranks. Mr. Speaker, I've seen the leader of minority has arrived, very happy, Mr. Speaker. As part of the leadership of this House, Mr. Speaker, we must all sit down and see how our people are going to be protected from the high cost of living. And particularly, Mr. Speaker, it's simple. The government have always had what we call subsidy for farmers all over the world. All over the world. The countries that subsidize most for their farmers are Europe and America. Mr. Speaker, I really want to say this, that we need, Mr. Speaker, our farmers to be subsidized. And we want in the farm inputs we are going to buy now, instead of fertilizer retailing at 6,000, I want really to request President Uhuru Kenyatta to respect the farmers of this country and take the money, Mr. Speaker, from all these other political functions and subsidize the prices of fertilizer and farm inputs, Mr. Speaker, including the seeds, so that Kenyans can plant and we can be able to support our economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.